Okay, so you know that leaked MrBeast document, right? The one everyone's talking about A players. Yeah, well, it's been making the rounds, and we thought it was time to take a real deep dive into this thing. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it gives you a real peek behind the curtain of like one of the, I mean, you can't deny it, one of the biggest YouTube empires out there.
Absolutely.
It's more than just, viral videos. There's a whole structure to this, a culture, driving it all.
Yeah. And for anyone who might not know, we're talking Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBeast.
Right.
He's kind of mastered the art of high-budget, insane YouTube content.
Yeah.
And this document, it's like his philosophy for building a team that can handle all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And the big thing, the core of it is this idea of A players, like how to build a team of A players.
So this whole A player, B player, C player thing, right?
Yeah.
What actually makes someone an A player in MrBeast's world? It can't just be like, are you good at your job?
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's more nuanced than that.
Okay,
Think of it, it's like levels. Yeah.
Right.
So A players are at the top. They're not just skilled, they're obsessed, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pushing boundaries, always learning, like refining what they do.
So it's that extra drive that like sets them apart, that constant wanting to be better.
Yes, absolutely. But there's another piece to it too. They're self-aware.
Okay.
Really self-aware. So
Yeah.
they're open to feedback, which is, I think, huge. And they own their mistakes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, they see them as like opportunities to learn.
Yeah, because I think in so many places it's all about just like never failing, and this is like embracing it.
Yeah. And then I think maybe the most important thing is they believe in the mission, right?
Okay.
So in this case, it's about YouTube. YouTube is a platform.
Okay.
And the reach of like the MrBeast brand.
Mhm.
They're not just clocking in and clocking out,
Yeah, they believe in it. They're part of it. Okay, so that's an A player. What about B players? Where do they fit in?
So B players, they're the ones with potential,
Okay.
like tons of potential, but they haven't quite hit that A player level.
Right.
Maybe they need more experience or some guidance, like mentoring.
So they're not just like discarded, they're nurtured.
Exactly. MrBeast's system like really stresses the importance of helping B players get to that top level.
Right.
But they can't just stay in the B category forever.
Right. So they either level up or
it might not be the right fit.
yeah. So the stakes are pretty high. It's a constant push for like better.
Totally. And that kind of brings us to the part of the document that I think people are talking about the most, the C players.
Ooh, this is where it gets interesting. So what makes a C player different? Is it just someone who's like bad at their job?
Not necessarily. It's more about their impact on the team, on the overall vibe. MrBeast thinks C players can really hurt the team, even if they're doing, okay work themselves.
So you could be like technically competent but still be a C player. That's interesting.
Well, think about it. C players often do the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
They're not striving for that A player excellence.
Right.
And that kind of complacency, it can be toxic.
I can see how that would frustrate the A players for sure.
Totally. A players get demoralized,
Mhm.
and then it creates this like acceptance of mediocrity.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's the opposite of what MrBeast is about. He's all about pushing limits, innovating.
Right. Taking risks. So it's not just about your own performance, it's about how you affect the whole team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the document says C players are transitioned out.
Okay.
Now, it's not done, heartlessly.
Right.
They get severance and support. But the bottom line is they don't fit in this high-performance environment.
So I think a lot of people listening might be like, okay, this is YouTube, millions of dollars, high stakes. But like, how does this apply to, to my everyday life?
And that's what's so interesting about this this system. It goes beyond just YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Think about your own workplace, your own team.
Okay.
Spotting those A-player qualities, that passion, that ownership, it's valuable everywhere.
So it's a way to build a team that thrives no matter what you're doing.
Absolutely. Whether you're hiring, managing, whatever.
Yeah.
Understanding this system can be so helpful. It helps you identify the people with that potential.
Right.
Mentor those that need a little push and see who might be holding the team back, even if they don't mean to.
Okay, so now I want to know, how does this actually work in practice? What are the rules?
Well, there's one that really stands out. It's called say the negatives.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of how we usually approach ideas, right?
Yeah, usually it's like, hey, this is all the good stuff, but this is like, tell me the bad stuff.
Exactly. It's all about being honest, upfront, solving problems before they even happen.
And he uses, I think he uses the example of finding a location, like for a video. Like, imagine an epic castle, right?
Sounds awesome.
Sounds amazing.
But what if it's booked solid, way over budget, and haunted?
Haunted, that's the worst one.
Yeah, that could ruin the whole project.
Sure.
So instead of pretending those problems don't exist, they bring them up right away.
So you're not, like, blindsided later on. You know what you're getting into.
Right. By doing that, the team can brainstorm solutions, adapt, maybe even choose a different idea altogether.
It's like being proactive.
Exactly. Being realistic, not setting yourself up for disappointment. And I think that honesty also builds trust within the team.
Yeah, no one likes being surprised by a haunted castle or a huge budget overage. Do you think this is something people could use in their everyday work, even if it's not, YouTube?
Absolutely. Think about a time you were working on something and problems were hidden, right?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
It always comes out eventually, right?
Stress, scrambling. But imagine if everyone was upfront about the challenges from the get-go.
Yeah, it's like, we don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but really it's better to just get it out there.
And that's the A-player way, right? Owning it, finding solutions, not making excuses.
Just saying the negatives can actually be a positive.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got say the negatives. There's another interesting one.
Okay, hit me.
It's I'm not always right.
Wow.
Which, coming from MrBeast, I think is pretty humble.
Yeah, for someone at his level of success to admit that, it shows a lot of self-awareness, I think.
Totally. He knows he's got multiple channels, businesses. The brand's always evolving.
Right.
And he admits he can't make the right call every time with all that going on.
So it's about acknowledging his own limitations and maybe giving his team the space to contribute their own ideas.
Yeah, and he encourages them to help him make better decisions. So instead of just saying, should we buy this car for a video, he wants them to come with options, research, a whole plan.
Okay, so making his job easier by anticipating what he needs, giving him all the info so he can make a fast decision.
Right. It streamlines everything, make sure everyone's on the same page.
Makes sense. So less pressure on him, more empowerment for the team.
Yeah, and that skill, that being able to communicate effectively like that's useful everywhere.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so say the negatives. I'm not always right. What else we got?
Well, this one's super relevant for anyone working on a team, especially when things move fast. It's clear communication is critical.
Oh, yeah. Communication can make or break a team.
Absolutely. Miscommunication, I mean, that's chaos. Wasted effort, missed deadlines.
And with what they do, constantly trying new things, yeah, communication has got to be on point.
They have this system. They call it go up and then over for how different departments talk to each other.
Go up and then over.
Yeah. Might sound a little rigid, but it helps to prevent things getting, jumbled up.
Okay, explain that one.
So let's say you're in production and you need something from the writers.
Right.
Instead of going directly to the writer, you go to your supervisor, who then talks to the writing team supervisor.
Okay, so no cutting across departments.
Exactly. Everyone's in the loop. And you avoid people accidentally working on the same thing twice.
Oh, yeah. That could get messy. They use this example in the document, the lava sandwich incident.
Yeah, classic example. A coordinator asked a writer directly for a bit about a lava sandwich.
Okay, sounds like a MrBeast thing to do. What could go wrong?
Well, no one else knew about it.
Uh-oh.
The production team spent, days figuring out how to make a sandwich with actual lava.
Oh, no.
And then it turns out it wasn't even an approved idea.
So, all that time and effort wasted.
Exactly. And just because of a miscommunication.
Yeah.
Shows you how important it is to have those clear systems in place.
So go up and then over. Simple, but effective.
Yeah, it applies to so many situations.
Yeah.
Whether it's a small company, a big one, good communication it's essential.
All right, clear communication. Got it. What else is on MrBeast's list?
Okay, this one's about being, a little skeptical, doing your research. It's always question and verify.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, especially important when you're dealing with people outside your team.
So not just believing everything you hear.
Right. Like they use this example of needing 10,000 pillows for a shoot.
10,000 pillows.
Yeah. Most suppliers could only do a few hundred. But then one company says, oh yeah, we've got 10,000, no problem.
Ooh, red flag.
Right. So instead of just trusting them, they investigate. Are they legit? Are the pillows good quality? Why is no one else using them?
So being proactive, asking the tough questions, making sure everything's, like, actually true.
And this applies to everything, not just pillows. Evaluating a business deal, a job offer, even just something you read online.
You've got to be your own fact checker.
It's not about being cynical, just, aware. Knowing there might be hidden agendas out there.
Always question and verify. Good advice.
Okay, now here's one that might surprise you. It's about mistakes.
Okay.
His philosophy is own your mistakes.
Interesting, because we're always told to, like, avoid mistakes at all costs.
Right, but MrBeast sees them as part of learning. He even says every veteran on his team has made, like, million-dollar mistakes.
Whoa, really? And he's okay with that?
Yeah. To him, those were investments. They learned, they got better, they moved on. It's about a culture where people aren't afraid to try, even if they mess up.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about taking ownership and learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's a catch. No excuses.
Right.
No blaming others. That's not how you grow.
And this goes back to the A-player thing, right?
Totally. Mistakes are going to happen. He'd rather they come from the people who are going to learn from them.
So if you're going to make $1 million mistake, at least learn something from it.
Right. Turn it into a lesson.
Say the negatives, I'm not always right. Clear communication, question and verify, own your mistakes. Okay, I'm taking notes. What else is there?
One more that shows his, go-getter attitude. It's no does not mean no.
Oh, I like that one already.
It's all about persistence.
Yeah.
So say they want to film in a store, right? Manager says no. Most people, that's it. They'd give up.
Yeah, easier to just move on.
But not them.
Oh.
They explore every option. Maybe someone else there is a fan, or they can reach the owner directly, maybe even use social media to put on a little pressure.
So thinking outside the box, being resourceful, not taking no for an answer.
And that's how they've achieved some of their biggest things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that no is just the starting point.
Yeah, you got to negotiate. So no does not mean no. Another good one for the list.
Okay, one last one. This one's, I think, especially interesting for anyone who makes, any kind of content.
All right, lay it on me.
It's understanding culture through what you watch. It's about the idea of an information diet and how it affects your creativity.
Okay, information diet. I like that.
Think about everything you watch, YouTube, TV, social media, even video games. That's the mental food you're feeding yourself.
So being aware of what you're taking in, how it might be affecting you.
Right. And MrBeast believes that affects your creativity, your humor, your ability to, connect with what's going on in the world.
So if you're only watching the same stuff all the time, you're not going to have a lot to draw from.
He uses the example of Chris Tyson, one of his collaborators.
Chris, yeah.
He's super funny on camera.
Yeah, always brings the energy.
And MrBeast says that's because Chris loves cartoons, goofy stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
He's always taking in that kind of humor, those references.
Oh, it fuels his own comedic style.
Exactly. So think about it. If Chris only watched, financial news, he probably wouldn't be as funny.
Probably not. So it's about curating what you consume to help you create better stuff.
Yes. And that's something anyone can do, whether you're a YouTuber, a writer, or just someone making social media posts.
What you watch, what you read, it all matters.
Right. And in part 2, we'll talk about some ways to actually diversify that information diet, to get those creative juices flowing.
Sounds good. Can't wait. Welcome back. So we just left off talking about the idea of an information diet,
right?
And how it affects how creative we are. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's actually true.
It's a pretty powerful concept, isn't it? What we're taking in, it shapes how we see the world, but also how we come up with new ideas, solve problems. I mean, even just understanding our own lives.
Yeah, it makes you think if what I'm consuming is kind of boring, maybe that's why I'm feeling creatively stuck. So where do we even begin? How do we switch things up?
Well, the first thing is just being aware, right?
Okay.
Actually paying attention to what you're consuming. What YouTube channels are you watching? What shows are you binging? What are you scrolling through on social media?
Yeah, it's easy to just get stuck in that loop of the algorithm's just feeding you more of the same.
Right, like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So once you know what your diet looks like, then you can start to branch out.
Okay, so how do we do that? What are some actual things people can do?
So one thing, and it sounds simple, but use those explore features, on YouTube, TikTok, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The algorithm, it can actually be pretty good at finding stuff you wouldn't normally see.
I've definitely found some cool creators that way.
Right. And another thing, look for content from people who are different from you. Different backgrounds, different experiences, different opinions.
So it's about like challenging your own views, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to agree with everything, but just seeing those different perspectives, it can spark new ideas.
Okay, so explore algorithms, find diverse voices. What else?
Try different formats too. Don't just stick to videos. Listen to podcasts, read books, go to events, even just like have conversations with people who are into different stuff than you.
Oh, yeah. I always feel like when I listen to a podcast, it's like a different kind of learning than reading an article.
Right. It hits different parts of your brain. And it's not just podcasts, documentaries, live theater, even just going for a walk in nature and observing stuff.
It's like engaging all your senses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about expanding our horizons, we also got to think about quality, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's so much information out there. It's overwhelming.
It's like, how do you filter out the noise, right?
Yeah.
So be critical. Look for information that's backed up by evidence, fact check things, and be careful of these like super sensational headlines.
Yeah, the ones that are trying to like get a reaction out of you. So it's about being like an information detective.
Exactly. Don't just blindly trust everything you see.
Okay, so quality over quantity. Got it. What else should we keep in mind?
Also, the emotional impact.
Oh, yeah, some stuff like really brings you down.
Right. Some stuff is uplifting, some stuff is stressful. Be aware of how it's making you feel and choose stuff that makes you feel good.
It's about finding that balance. Stay informed, but not like stressing yourself out.
Exactly. And remember, you have a choice. You don't have to just passively consume whatever's in front of you.
Yeah, you can like create your own information menu.
Exactly. Choose things that align with what you care about, what you're interested in.
I like that. It's being intentional about what you let into your mind. Okay, so all of this is great, but how do we actually make time for it? We're all so busy.
That's the thing, right? But you make time for what's important to you.
So make it a priority, just like you would with your health, your relationships, your job.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours. Even 15, 20 minutes a day, exploring something new can make a difference over time.
That's good to know. I think sometimes we get overwhelmed, like, oh, I have to change everything.
Right. But small changes can add up. And remember, it's a process. Your information diet, it's going to change as you change, as your interests change.
So it's not about like finding the perfect diet and then sticking with it forever. It's about being open to trying new things.
Exactly. Be curious. Experiment. Okay, but what about when you're feeling stuck? Like you're trying to be creative, but nothing's coming.
Ooh, yeah, the dreaded creative block. What do you do then?
You know, sometimes the best thing is to just step away.
Wait, really? Just give up?
No, not give up,
Yeah.
but give your brain a break.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're too focused on something, you get like tunnel vision. You can't see the solution.
It's like when you're working on a puzzle and you just can't figure it out, so you walk away and then later you see it.
Exactly. So go for a walk, listen to music, hang out with friends. Just do something to like clear your head.
It's like letting your subconscious work on it in the background.
And then when you come back, you might have fresh ideas.
Okay, so breaks are good. What else can we do when we're stuck?
Try something called divergent thinking.
Divergent thinking, okay.
It's basically coming up with as many ideas as possible. Don't judge them, just let them flow.
So like brainstorming, but more free-flowing.
Yeah, like no idea is too silly, too out there.
I like that. Just let your imagination go wild.
There are exercises for this. One is free writing. Set a timer and just write whatever comes to mind. Don't worry about making it perfect.
But get it all out.
Another one is random word association. Pick a random word and then think of as many things as you can that connect to it.
Oh, that's fun.
That makes your brain make new connections. There's also mind mapping.
Mind mapping, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you like draw out your ideas, right?
Right, start with a central idea and then branch out, use colors, images. It helps you see how everything connects.
So divergent thinking, it's about like breaking out of your usual way of thinking.
Exactly. And you can use it for anything, from starting a business to writing a song.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you're like a very logical person? Can you still be creative?
Yeah, that's me. I'm all about logic and planning.
The good news is creativity is a skill. You can develop it like a muscle.
So you don't have to like change your whole personality.
Right. It's about adding new tools to your toolbox.
Okay.
And a big part of that is curiosity and playfulness.
So not being afraid to experiment.
Yes. Ask what-if questions. try different things, and don't worry about making mistakes. That's how you learn.
It's like giving yourself permission to play.
Exactly. And creativity isn't just about those big, groundbreaking ideas. It's also about the small stuff, making things a little better, a little more fun.
Finding those little creative sparks in everyday life.
Right. The more you do that, the more you'll see possibilities everywhere.
I love that. This whole conversation has been so inspiring.
That's great to hear. And remember, this is just the start. In part 3, we'll talk about some even more advanced techniques, taking those ideas and actually doing something with them.
Awesome. Can't wait. Okay, so we're back, and we're like ready to really get into the doing part of creativity, right? We've talked about the ideas, the inspiration, but now it's like, how do we actually make something happen?
Yeah, it's one thing to have those light bulb moments, but how do you actually like turn them into something real, something you can, share with the world? That's the challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, right? It's like, okay, I have this idea, but now what? So where do we even start?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to have a goal, like a clear goal in mind.
Okay.
What do you want to achieve with your creativity?
Mm.
Are you trying to, I don't know, write a book, start a business, design something, or just like make your life more, I don't know, more interesting?
So it's not just about being creative in general. It's like, what do you actually want to do?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like going on a trip, right? If you don't know where you're going, you're just going to drive around in circles.
Right. You need a destination.
Yeah. But once you have that destination, it's like, okay, now I can figure out the route, the steps to get there.
So goal setting, that's step one.
Yeah, for sure.
But sometimes those goals can feel like really big and scary, like how do I even begin?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like looking at a mountain being like, how am I going to climb that?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where breaking it down comes in.
Okay.
Break those big goals down into smaller steps.
Smaller chunks.
Yeah, like if you're writing a book, don't try to write the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
Maybe start with an outline, then focus on, I don't know, a few pages each day.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Exactly, yeah. And by focusing on those smaller things, you build momentum, you don't get so overwhelmed, and you get to celebrate those little wins along the way.
Right, which keeps you motivated. Okay, so goals, break them down. What else?
This one might sound a little weird, but create it. A creative routine.
Your routine.
Yeah, like just like you schedule time for, I don't know, for work, for exercise, for family.
Yeah.
Schedule time for your creative stuff.
So make it a priority, not just something you do when you like happen to have time.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be like a ton of time, even 30 minutes a day, an hour a few times a week.
Uh-huh.
But be consistent. Treat it like an important meeting.
So even when you don't feel like it, you show up.
Yeah. Because sometimes just the act of showing up, even when you're not feeling inspired, can spark something.
Makes sense. So consistency is key. What else can we do to make those creative sessions, those creative times more productive, I guess?
Surround yourself with inspiration.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Create an environment that feels like creative, that sparks your imagination.
Because if you're in a boring, dull environment, it's hard to get those creative juices flowing.
Right. So seek out things that make you feel alive. Go to museums, see concerts, spend time in nature, read inspiring books, listen to interesting podcasts.
It's like building your own little world of inspiration.
Yeah. And also, the people you surround yourself with, they matter too.
Oh, for sure.
Find people who are supportive, encouraging, who challenge you to grow creatively.
Because negativity can be contagious, but so can creativity.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So surround yourself with people who lift you up, who believe in you.
Okay, so goals, breaking things down, routine, inspiration, community. This is all great. But What about self-doubt? That little voice that's like, you're not good enough.
Oh, that voice. We all have it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It can really sabotage you. But here's the thing, that voice, it's not the truth. It's just a thought, and thoughts can change.
So how do we quiet that voice?
Practice self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Yeah, like treat yourself with the same kindness you would treat a friend who's struggling.
Okay.
So when that negative thought comes up, acknowledge it. Say, okay, I hear you. I see you're scared.
Yeah.
But then challenge it. Is it really true?
Yeah.
What evidence do you have?
It's like putting that thought on trial.
And often when you do that, it loses its power. And then you can start replacing it with something more positive.
So instead of, I'm not good enough, it's, I'm learning, or I'm capable of great things.
Exactly. And the more you practice that, the quieter that negative voice gets.
Okay, so self-compassion is key. Anything else we can do to boost our confidence?
Celebrate your successes.
Oh, yeah.
Even the small ones.
It's so easy to just focus on what's next, what we haven't done yet.
Right. So take time to acknowledge those wins, no matter how small. Finished a chapter of your book. Great. Sketched out an idea. Awesome. Showed up for your creative time, even though you didn't feel like it. That's a win.
So it's like giving yourself a little pat on the back.
Exactly. And those little celebrations, they build your confidence. They keep you motivated.
And it creates a good cycle, right? Like the more you celebrate, the more you want to do.
Totally. And speaking of cycles, another important thing is community.
Oh, yeah. Finding your people.
Yeah. Connect with other creative people. Join a workshop. Go to a conference. Find online groups.
So you're not alone in this. You have people to share with, to get support from.
Exactly. They understand the ups and downs. They can give you feedback. They can inspire you.
It's like a support group for creativity. Wow, this has been such a great, I don't know, like a crash course in creativity.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
I'm feeling really inspired to get out there and make something.
That's awesome. And remember, this is just the beginning. The more you practice these things, the more you embrace that curiosity, that playfulness, that self-compassion, the more creative you'll become.
This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
It was my pleasure. And to everyone listening, get out there and create something amazing.